Charleston, Montgomery, The Jock. Fishing the waters of the wild and wonderful, the bluegrass and beyond. It's Hook, Line, and Sinker with Cam Connors on The Jock.
And another good Saturday morning. Thank you so much for catching another episode with Hook, Line, and Sinker. I'm your host, Cam Connors. Coming up on Tuesday this next week, it is Earth Day. And, of course, as we learned in elementary school, it's a day to really focus on conservation, something that I believe, as anglers and outdoorsmen, I believe that conservation is a topic that we should really take seriously. It's something we should always be thinking about. The leave no trace mentality, which we'll talk about a little later on today. It's something we should definitely keep in mind. You know, hunting and fishing, it's all about collecting animals, but it's also about conserving and managing that population and the health of those animals and the health of our natural resources. So it's something we're going to talk about today. When we're in elementary school, we make a big deal out of it all the way up to about the 7th or 8th grade, and then it kind of falls by the wayside, and one of the goals of this show in general is to bring awareness back, but especially with today's episode. As much as we love to hit the river, the lake, we got to be responsible. We got to take care of those resources if we want to keep enjoying it and for it to be around, for our kids to enjoy. So in line with the Earth Day and conservation theme, that's going to be what we're talking about with today's show. In fact, my first guest coming up a little later on will be someone who is very attuned with the conservation efforts here at home. I'll be talking with Bill Currey from the Coal River Group. And if you don't know anything about them, the Coal River Group, they've made major efforts over the years to clean up the Coal River here in St. Albans and on southward as well. They keep it beautiful. They've made it very clean and very beautiful, and in the process managed to create one of the largest kayaking events on this side of the country, the Tour de Coal. So that'll be something we talk about. And then I've got some tackle to talk about as well. Well, sort of. A $100 Amazon gift card recently came my way, and instead of buying things that, would be responsible purchases, I found a gadget that I really wanted to try, and so I got it. It's an underwater camera that hooks in line with your lure and rig. Supposedly, it's supposed to get some really good the footage of the strike, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I've got all the details on this thing, and I'll also be talking today with Ken Hackworth, who is the president of Bass Nation, president of Bass Nation of West Virginia. We'll learn all about what Bass Nation is and the various projects that they're involved with across the state. They're involved in conservation, tournaments, youth programs, and we'll have a good chat with him. Then we'll round out today's show, chatting with Chef Mandy Gum. She heads up the Culinary Arts program at Carver Career Center. And I want her take on preparing panfish, because I'm that guy who really likes to just, I'll admit it, I'll go fish for bluegill. I don't mind. But for now, let's get a look at the weather and water conditions for around the region. Temps this weekend going to be rebounding after that last cold snap we had. Some warmer temps, meaning, of course, that the spawn is going to be in full swing before we know it. So let's take a look. Looking at the Coal River here in St. Albans down towards Tornado, saw a high of 58.8 degrees this week. So I look for it to touch 60 here over the next week or so long as, the weather holds out. Moving east to the Elk, where it runs into the canal, a bit of a warm-up there as well. Temps moving from the mid-50s, moving up to the mid-50s this weekend. Looks like we're hovering right around 55, 56 degrees there. If we move westward and take a look at our friends in Kentucky once again on the Little Sandy River over towards Grayson Lake, the trend continuing. We saw a low of 50 for the week, moved up to a high of 56 on Thursday and Friday. Temps supposed to be warm today, so I look for Little Sandy to hit 57 this weekend, to be honest with you. And the Ohio River, of course, on the uptick as well, but it being such a large body of water, it is slower on the uptick. It's warmed up to about 53. Taking a look at weather for today and tomorrow. Today, overcast skies for much of the day, but it's going to be warm. Looking at temps in the upper 80s, possibly 88 today. A little windy, too. Expecting southwest winds, be around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Looks like our northernmost counties could see some rain or storms pop up today, but everyone to the south should miss out on it. And then tonight, cloudy and mild, temps dropping off to the low 60s, winds dying down to about 5 to 10 mile per hour. And then for our Easter Sunday, it's not as hot, looking at a high of the low 80s, we'll say 83. less windy as well. Northeast winds maxing out around 5 miles an hour tomorrow. So with that in mind, we're going to take a quick break. I've got a lot to get to today, and when we return, we're going to talk with Bill Currey from the Coal River Group. This is Hook, Line, and Sinker on the Jock.
Let's put out this campfire.
Dad, Smokey Bear said to.
Drown it with water, then stir it with a shovel, and repeat until cool.
Wow, where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Fish tales, we've got them. Now back to Hook, Line, and Sinker on the Jock.
And welcome back to Hook, Line, and Sinker. I'm your host, Cam Connors. I talked a little bit ago. This coming Tuesday is Earth Day, and I believe deeply as outdoorsmen and women, I believe it is our responsibility to really take care of our natural resources so that we have them to continue enjoying, but to pass down to the next generations as well. And someone who's joining me now who knows all about that, Bill Currey with the Coal River Group. Bill, thanks for being on this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's jump right in. You were with the Coal River Group. Let's learn about the Coal River Group. What is it? When did it form? Tell me the history on it.
Well, it's kind of a ragged history, you know. we started out, 3 or 4 of us came together years ago as we were all businessmen, and we had been fortunate, and we kind of retired early in our 60s, and we were we enjoyed a refreshment occasionally at the cafe in St. Albans together, and we got to talking about the rivers, and we all liked the river. We all had big boats, and the 3 of us were Bill Queen and myself and Dean Braley, and then there was another fellow that joined us who was a lobbyist, and Greg wasn't with us the whole time. Anyway, we got together, and Bill Queen was kind of a leader of explorations and doing new things. And he was brought up one evening the fact that there was a Coal River out here that he said was really interesting, and none of us really knew much about it. All of us had moved here from other parts to Charleston in different locations. Mm-hmm. And he said, I've been floating the Coal River and driving it. And he said, that's a big river. It's 88 miles long. And we just kind of shocked. And we said, well, gosh, that's, it goes by my dock in the back, but I've never been upstream. And he said, well, we got to do that. So together, we all like to fish. And we started weekend exploration trips together. And we didn't like to paddle that much, but we did. And the more we were exploring the river, the more excited we got about it. And we reconvened after about a month of just exploring in our favorite place, a cafe down in St. Albans. And we discussed it, and the idea came up. They said, that river could, if it were clean, it would really be a great fishing river, and it could really, people would enjoy floating on it. And together, we kind of came up, we said, well, we're not environmentalists. And we said, no, none of us are. We're businessmen. We said, well, right, but let's go check it out. We did. The more we checked it out, the more that we saw that it was fixable, in our minds at least, from the trash, the more we got excited about it. And then we started, we had a breakfast that we used to go to, and we had the mayor and the town and a few other people would join us on that. And we started talking about the Coal River a lot. And together, we formed a nonprofit corporation. That just the idea came up. We didn't really want to be a corporation, but nonprofit sounded good. We started that. We got a few more people together. We held a cleanup down at where we're at now is Meadowwood Park, and that was an easy to get to area. And Lower Falls was another one. We just brought together a bunch of people and picked up trash. And the people that joined us liked it, enjoyed what we were doing. It was good for the country. It was good for all the right reasons, and we still weren't environmentalists. But we liked what we did. We took a lot of pictures. I'm a good promoter. I've spent my whole life running public relations firms and advertising firms, so it was real easy for us to get publicity. And the more publicity we got, the more people wanted to join us, and they'd say, well, when's the next cleanup? And this was back in 2004, 5, 6, in that area that we were doing that. And if I get too windy, let me know.
Oh, you're fine.
I've got
We're
a lot of stories.
We're learning.
But I can't take all the credit. But if you did it, you ain't bragging. So the way that was Dean Braley's, one of his famous sayings, is he built a multi-million-dollar corporation himself that he liked to talk about. But the fact was that we liked what we were doing. We learned to love this river. We loved all the rivers, but we really didn't know a lot about coal when we started. But the more we researched, and again, all of us were pretty detail-oriented, the more we realized that this whole river system encompassed 900 square miles of what we call today the Coal River country. We went up to the headwaters of the Coal, which was actually where the Big Coal River and the Little Coal River come together. Areas up there were in the same condition, but they were cleaner trash-wise than the lower areas. So we started kind of talking to people in the Madison and Orgaz and places up in those areas and on our trips, and they said, well, gosh, why don't you let us help you? And we realized we didn't understand the dynamics of southern West Virginia, but the people on the Big Coal River really didn't like to work with the people on the Little Coal River because in the Civil War, the one side got the county courthouse after the war, and the other didn't, and they didn't like that. So they still carried it on. And the beauty is we figured, well, gosh, if we're going to get help up here, we're going to have two different organizations, a Big Coal River branch of the Coal River Group and a Little Coal River branch. We did that, and the best thing we ever did.
Huh.
Each of those committees, they wouldn't let me call them committees. They wanted to call it a branch. They want to be a branch of us, not a committee. And we did, and we did that right, and they just took off on their own, and now they've been in existence 20 years, and we've got people up there that have expanded and have literally hundreds of supporters to do their own things. They raise their own money. I mean, we are able to supply basic funds, but the Little Coal River, the Big Coal River, and now we have a Lincoln County branch because Lincoln County is part of what we call the Coal River country. That's the 900 square mile area, we call it today.
Bill, I think that everybody should sit down and talk about this with you because there's just so much history here that you've learned over the years that I've done the tour to coal multiple times, and I fish on the coal all the time, and I didn't know any of this. So, and to learn that this started with just a group of businessmen who wanted to clean up and have somewhere to float and fish. To me, that's really what conservation is all about. I think that you all have really built something amazing here on the Coal River.
Well, thank you. I mean, we were proud of it, and we didn't want to be environmentalists, and we didn't want to be pigeonholed as anything other than folks that loved the river and wanted to clean it up. And that worked so well for us because what happens was we didn't do this by ourselves. We had a lot of government help. And the reason we had a lot of government help was this, and you got to remember, back in 2009 and that period of time, there was a big battle going on over environmental. And people were trying to shut down coal mines and chemical companies, which I worked for. And there was a big battle nationally over shutting down polluters. Mm-hmm. Well, we all kind of represented the polluters, you know. and so it was real difficult to be able to present our stories, except when we went originally, and a couple of our friends worked for the DEP, West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. He said, well, Bill, why don't you guys come up here and talk to a committee we have, and we might be able to help you some, and we want you to understand what we do. And we did. And when they found out we weren't card-carrying environmentalists, they got more interested. And they said, well, you guys, you're not trying to march on us. You want us to actually help you. And we said, yeah, we got a river and it's in trouble, and that's what you get money for, tax money for. And they embraced us. And we did the same thing with the DNR, with the Department of Natural Resources. We said, guys, we got all kind of flora, fauna, animals, fish, and they're not getting attention from the DNR, so how about helping us? And they said, oh, we'd love to. And that's kind of the way we have proceeded through the years, is to search for like-minded people, regardless of politics or feelings or name-calling, whatever. And we just want to fix something.
Well, and that's probably the best.
It's so simple.
That's probably the best way to go about it, too, because you all were able to actually do something. I mean, we talked, I think, last week, and some of the cleanest, best fish in the area can come out of the Coal River now because of the efforts you all have made over the last 20 years.
Well, there's no edible fish restrictions on any of the Coal River. It's clean enough that it produces fish that are considered edible. And now it's full. I mean, it's always been full of fish. People just were afraid to fish it. Now it's one of the most popular. I mean, it's becoming popular as one of the best producing fishing centers in the state of West Virginia. And you got to remember, it's 88 miles of river and 500 creeks that are within our territory.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and if you've got a kayak, it's absolutely perfect for doing a little fishing. I mean,
and the trail, we designed the first in the state of West Virginia. Now there's 17, but we designed the first contiguous water trail, and that was a big deal because we understood or learned the hard way is that you never want to paddle upstream if you don't have to.
Right.
And a kayak or aluminum boat like we started.
Right.
So what we found out was, we needed places to park a pickup car, because if we were going to paddle, if we wanted to go from Madison to Danville, which is next door to each other, we needed two cars. You had to put in and you had to take out. So we designed, and we got a lot of help from the state. Really, the state statistical people helped us. The state highways helped us. And we said, well, we got to have boat launches. And all that kind of came together. And again, you got 3 or 4 hustlers here that know about business, and they knew how the system worked. And we convinced the DNR that we could build our own boat launches, and they kind of nodded at us. And then we got insurance that covered the state, all the state offices covering our nonprofit. So we were able to go in and convince churches and places that had nice property on the rivers to allow us to launch our boats on their property. And we had insurance liability coverage, which protected them. Mm-hmm. So it got into a business thing where you had to know what you were doing, and you had to smooth people in order to get your way and accomplish your goals, and we've accomplished so much.
You really have. Let's pivot just a little. Let's talk about the Coal River and the ecosystem there, because you all have really shifted it towards, like you said, some of the cleanest fish around. What kind of fish can be found in the Coal River?
Well, let me back up a second. The reason it is the way it is right now, and we can brag about it, it didn't have a lot to do with pollution from industry. There's hardly any industry left in the Coal River Basin, the 900 square miles. The coal companies have reduced, and the biggest thing is coal companies and all what industry we had cleaned up their act. Mm-hmm. They are today not the polluters that they were back in that day.
Right.
And it's been good, strong, implementation of corrective measures by both industry and the government. So they cleaned it up. But the biggest problem we found from Tornado, West Virginia to St. Albans was the dirtiest stretch of all 88 miles of the Coal River.
We're talking just trash, tires.
We're talking sewage.
Oh, okay.
Pure, outright sewage. And sewage was the problem along the river, but come to find out, the people above Tornado had sewage systems. There's only 4 incorporated cities above St. Albans, and we're in a small area. Mm-hmm. But each of those cities, Madison, Danville, Whitesville, all have their own city sewer systems. So the population that produced sewage, or their sewage was taken care of by already existing sewage systems owned by those cities, those 4 cities. St. Albans had a great sewage system, but the Coal River flowing from Tornado to St. Albans was polluted like crazy because of the lack of sewage on the Coal River side of the river. And in order to fix that, a group came to us, the Upper Kanawha Valley, or the Greater St. Albans PSD, which controls the sewage on that side of the river. They said, Bill, we could fix all the problem. We've got 1,500 homes that have faulty septic tanks that could be replaced if we could get $24 million from the State Infrastructure Council. And we said, well, how do you do that? And they said, well, we need spokesmen to go out and sell it because we're competing with all the other places in the state that need the same amount of money, and they give out $60 million a year. So me and Bill Queen and our other buddies and all the mayor of St. Albans stepped up. And we said, well, let's just go. We're good at publicity. So we publicized the fact that our river was dirty, which was kind of crazy, but we did. And we promoted it. We had front page stories, and we had, we promoted this $20 million project that it was already designed. And believe it or not, we got it passed. And together we went to the Infrastructure Council, and the head of that council knew me particularly. He said, Curry, he said, we're going to give you $24 million out of $60 million we give the whole state. And we don't ever want you back here again. You've worn us out with publicity and bad news, and so St. Albans is getting a big deal. We did, and honestly, it cleaned up the river so well. And there's still issues. The new sewer system, sometimes it breaks down and all that, but that's seldom. But it does. So it's never going to be perfect, but the E. coli counts, and I'm not a scientist by any mode, but the E. coli counts at my dock at my house when I bought it in 2000 on the Coal River at where my dock is right now was over 3,000 parts per liter, I think is what they caught, which was huge. They shut down public beaches at whatever that count is, 400 parts per liter.
Right.
And mine was 3,000 at my dock.
Oh,
I wouldn't let my grandkids go swimming when I moved to St. Albans.
Oh, no way.
And it was at Tornado, it was about the same. It was just ungodly, the numbers. After the sewer system was built, and after all, it took years, but after all the septic tanks were removed and they all combined into the St. Albans sewer system, today I can go out and we do this. We check the river on a regular basis through the high season, which is starting this month. And my dock, generally the E. coli counts about 300. It was 3,000. So if that doesn't convince you that we've cleaned up something with a lot of help of other people, I mean, that's it. And that's why I brag about, or I talk the facts. I try not to brag, but if you did it, you know what I said. But we cleaned up the river. And now the fishing is become world class. Our muskie population is huge. Our game fish, the bass, and we're not a cold water thing, so we don't have trout, but we have a few trout upstream. But the muskie and the walleye and all the bass and all this, there are just so many varieties of fish available, and it's all about knowing how to catch them nowadays, not worrying about whether there's fish or not. They're there. You just got to learn to catch them.
Absolutely. Of course, you all also do fundraising efforts each year. You do the Tour de Cole, which is one of the biggest events this side of the country.
Yep.
And then, of course, if folks want to volunteer or donate, they can do that as well.
Well, we need both. The Tour de Cole is the largest flatwater river event, kayak event in the United States. That's compared to everything. So, and we've done that because we had a clean river and because we knew how to promote, and people just love the event. We don't own the river, so we invite everybody. We sell our T-shirts to make money, and again, a nonprofit is a business. A nonprofit just has to have money in order to function, and we've done well. And it all comes from donations, sponsorships, and sales of ads, and we work hard for it. We rent kayaks with volunteer help. Now we're a partner with Hatfield McCoy's. We're selling passes for their new their track that went into Tornado, which is drawing huge numbers of people and will grow. But we have to have money, and the Tour de Cole, because it's so popular, it's so popular that people want to cheat to get in the river and won't sign up and register for it.
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, doesn't that make you mad, Bill? And I said, hell no. I said, if we're so good and we've cleaned this river up so well that people want to bypass, signing up to get in the river, then we're successful.
Well, that's a great way to look at it. You're not getting, the money out of them as far as the donate for the the efforts, but like you said, it's a testament to the fact that you've accomplished the mission that you set out to do.
Yeah, we win. We're not out. We were never out here. We already had money. The guys that started this thing, we didn't need a lot of money. What we wanted was a clean river. We wanted success, and we wanted business for these little towns. You drive up and down St. Albans Main Street, it would not be that way if we hadn't started promoting and developing the city of St. Albans as vacant buildings when we started. There were 19 vacant buildings on St. Albans Main Street when we started. You go down and count them right now, there's maybe one.
Right. Well, and the Tour de Cole, you say yourself, it's the largest flatwater event in the country. It brings thousands of people.
But St. Albans did it on their own. Your mayors have been really sharp, and the ones we've worked with since we started. President Mayor came to me a number of years ago and said, "Curry," he said, "you guys you're just wearing this thing out." He said, "We want to do something to get St. Albans involved." And I already had a name in mind. I've been thinking about it. And I said, why don't you call it the Yak Fest? And the mayor said, well, what's a yak, Bill? And I said, well, that's a kayak nickname that's worldwide. When you say yak, everybody knows it's a kayak. And we're the kayakers. He said, well, that makes sense. and so that was the way I ended up with the Yak Fest. And it's all about the rivers, the clean rivers. And now you got 14,000 people a year coming to Main Street just for that one event. So, and that's happening in Danville and in Madison and over in Lincoln County. All this clean river stuff has gone together, and it's created. I'm chairman of the State Flatwater Trail Commission, and now we've grown groups like ours here in St. Albans into 17 flatwater trails throughout the state of West Virginia, and all of them are modeling everything they do exactly after what the Coal River Group's founders did.
And I got to say again, I absolutely love your all's group because you all have done absolutely amazing work. And like you said, you didn't set out as environmentalists. You didn't set out with this mission of saving the planet. It was just cleaning up your backyard, cleaning up the river that you liked. And in the process, you were able to get a sewer system fixed, you were able to clean the river, and you were able to provide such a huge economic boost for our area. So it goes to show how everyday people just making a small effort to clean up our area can help in so many ways.
Well, I'm just proud to be part of it. And again, I'm just part of it. I mean, I'm the mouthpiece, you might say, but we've got over 600 registered volunteers, and that's so minuscule compared to how many people have helped us over the years do all the things that we've done.
Well, speaking of,
it's been I don't know, I can't explain how it's all happened, but everybody else in the state would like to be like us, I can tell you that.
Well, speaking of volunteers, if folks would like to volunteer, like to get involved or donate, what's the best way? What can they do?
Go to our website. Our website, in fact, we've just updated it. You can donate money to us on the website. You can sign up for the and please sign up for the Coal River Group. We got wonderful T-shirts this year. It's only $35. We'd love to have people to actually help us because we have to raise money or we got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Hatfield McCoy thing, we've added. We now are open 7 days a week at our Meadowwood Park facility. We have a museum. We have a alternative energy center. We have exhibits. We have 2 miles of wonderful West Virginia walking trails. We have an 8-acre fishing lake. We've created a destination point, which is where we're at now. Our future is in promoting new business for our region, for what we call the coal country region, which is 5 counties. And that, by promoting that, we're able to do that as I retire and others retire that were just big hustlers. We're able to turn that over and say, hey, we can bring business here. We know how to promote. We work closely with people like Hatfield McCoy. Now we've got bed and breakfast, Burbos all over the place. There's 51 Burbo rental places in St. Albans. Nobody knows about it unless it's the people that are coming here and staying in them.
Right. Well,
did you know that? Did you know you had 51 rental?
I didn't. I didn't.
People from out of town come in and rent regularly. Look them up. Look for B&Bs, Burbos, where people are staying nowadays. We've got them all over the place here, and that's where our new visitors are staying. They don't want to see your local neighborhood. They don't want to block your traffic locally. They want to go visit the coal country region and get on that river and hunt and fish and do all the things they want to do.
Exactly. Well, Bill, man, it has been amazing talking to you. We've learned so much today, and I just want to say thanks again for taking the time to be on.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Well, I will definitely have to have you on again, maybe closer to time for the Tour de Coal.
Yeah, please. Please do.
Still to come on today's show, I have recently invested in a new fishing gadget, and I'm on pins and needles waiting for this thing to arrive. I'm going to tell you about it coming up next. Plus, we're going to talk with Ken Hackworth, the president of Bass Nation of West Virginia. It's Hook, Line, and Sinker on The Jock.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Fish on. Now back to Hook, Line, and Sinker on The Jock.
I'm your host, Cam Connors, and we're going to take a small break from the conservation conversations because it's time for a little tackle talk. Now, in case you haven't figured it out yet, I like to fish. I'm sure you do too. Been doing it all my life. In fact, there's a little small pond in Boyd County, Kentucky that very likely still has a Mickey Mouse rod and reel in it from sometime around 1992. But in all my years of fishing, I've never had the chance to see for myself the underwater aspect of fishing. What's really happening with your lure. I mean, yeah, there's YouTube videos out there, but that's someone else fishing. I want to see what's happening when I cast my line out into my lakes. And so, taking a page out of those YouTubers' books, I found an underwater camera. Now, I found this on Amazon. I recently took an online survey for work, and I won a $100 Amazon gift card. And rather than use it for something responsible, like a responsible adult should, I decided to get this underwater camera. And I'll say up front, the really good ones are hovering around $150 or more. I got this one. It's one of the cheaper options. This one only around $80, $90. So I'm sure it's some cheap foreign knockoff, but I mean, hey, I'm using free money to get it, so who cares, right? It's a clearish blue, and it ties in line with your fishing rig, and it claims that this thing will capture 1080 high-def footage. It also has a green LED light for what it calls night vision, and yes, I did use air quotes on that because I'm a little skeptical. Supposedly, this thing has 2-hour-plus battery life, and it says that's of continuous recording. And it's, of course, waterproof as well, up to 98 feet in both fresh and salt water. And while it does record, it does not provide real-time footage because apparently you can't Wi-Fi through water. All of them that I could find that provided real-time footage had to have a cable on them. It also features a thin metal tongue that apparently you can bend in order to adjust the depth that you want the camera to stay at as you're reeling. And it comes with foam blocks if you want to stay closer to the top as well. Hopefully, this thing will arrive at my house today. If it does, I'll get the chance to take it out on the lake this afternoon. I'll be sure to make a video about it and post it on the Hook, Line, and Sinker page at WJYPAM.com. And, of course, I'll do a recap on it next week's show as well. Moving on with today's show, my next guest on the line, Ken Hackworth. He's president of the Bass Nation of West Virginia. How you doing today, Ken?
Cam, I'm doing great. I hope you are too.
I'm doing very well, man. It's always a great day in West Virginia.
But that's the truth.
So
that is the truth.
So I understand your nickname is Hack. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It is.
And
that's what I'm basically known as. You say Hack, and that'll be me.
I got you. So that, of course, based off your last name, not has anything to do with anything else. So you are the president of the Bass Nation of West Virginia. So let's talk a little about what is Bass Nation.
Bass Nation West Virginia, we're a grassroots statewide bass fishing organization. We're affiliated with the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, but we are an independent organization. We're registered with the Secretary of State's office. But we are affiliated with BASS.
Okay, and you guys focus on all kinds of different things around the state. You focus on conservation, tournaments, youth involvement. Let's talk a little bit first about the conservation, because that's kind of the theme for today's show. Earth Day coming up on Tuesday this coming week, so the big focus for today is conservation. So what's some conservation efforts that you guys focus on?
Well, it just so happens that on April 26th, our organization, in conjunction with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at Burnsville and Burnsville Docks, we're having a lake cleanup on April 26th, starting at 9 o'clock. You don't have to be a member. We invite everyone that is interested to show up and help improve things. Our conservation director, Matt Myers, he came up with this idea of, and this is our second annual one, he came up with the idea and developed it to work in conjunction with these other groups to try to do a big job, try to do a good job. And it so happens that we have our high school state championship the next day. So what Matt has developed is an idea to get our youth involved more so than normal by distributing trash bags to them, and for every trash bag that they fill, they get one ticket for a raffle we're having. And the raffle will be for the teammates together would each win a Denali brand rod and reel.
Awesome.
Worth some high dollar. So that's one incentive he has to get them to try to be there with us.
That's a great idea.
We invite the public. We had a good time last year. We picked up a lot of trash. Didn't realize that some of our areas, we're used to be on the water. So we didn't realize that a lot of our shoreline and bank line was needed cleaned up pretty well.
Well, and that's just it.
So
That's one of the things.
We're involved in that. We've got a very robust youth program. Both our conservation program and our youth programs are recognized nationally with BASS. We have high school and junior Bassmaster teams from all across West Virginia. Our junior Bassmasters, their ages are age 7 up through middle school, and then our high school is 9th grade through senior. So we're pretty proud of those programs. We've had in the past ongoing programs with cleanup or conservation projects, at Sutton, Burnsville, Tiger Lake, Summersville Lake, pretty much all the big lakes in West Virginia. We've had ongoing conservation projects there. So we're pretty proud of what we've been able to accomplish. Our members have been able to accomplish, and we're pretty happy with that.
Well, and it's really a great thing because talking about the theme today being conservation, that is one of the things that we as outdoorsmen need to be aware of. Is if we want to continue to enjoy the fishing, if we want to pass it down to our sons and daughters in the future, our love of the outdoors, we have to take care of it. And so it really is up to us to go back and not just clean up, but to also, hammer home to folks, clean up after yourself. That way this doesn't become as big of a problem in the future.
Exactly. And I want to give a shout out too to one of our members, Rob Cherapika. Rob has a YouTube channel, and Rob makes it a point that every time he goes fishing, he takes some 5-gallon buckets with him, and he always picks up trash that he finds.
Oh, that's a great thing.
That's an outstanding thing that Rob does. It impresses me. I'm proud that we have members that do that, and I'm very thankful that Rob publicizes that. He gets the word out.
Well, and it kind of reminds me. My son is in the Boy Scouts, and so one of the things that they do whenever we go anywhere, fishing, camping, anywhere, is before any of us leave, the boys have to do a walkthrough and scan for any trash. And it don't matter if it was theirs, if it was somebody else's, it don't matter if it was there when we got there. If they see trash before they leave, they got to pick it up.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's really great. The outdoorsman's one of our tenets should always be, leave no trace.
Exactly.
And that's great that those youth are involved in that. The education is the key. And starting them out young, telling them that, the perils of littering, just what it can do to wildlife. We've all seen, photos of 6-packs around wildlife, 6-pack, the plastic ringers. And, it's not good. It's, the aesthetics of it are bad. And, it makes everything nicer for all of us especially when we work together to clean things up and improve our conditions. And that's one thing that our motto for our conservation program is improving conditions for all anglers, not just Bass Station West Virginia members, but for all anglers.
Exactly.
So we're proud to be able to do a part of the total efforts.
Yep. Well, and like you said, it is about education, and it does start with the children. What starts with us,
exactly.
But it's about teaching the children also. And you all do, you mentioned it a little bit, you all do a lot with youth involvement. In fact, I believe you've got a Children's Home Society tournament coming up.
Yes, that is one of the things that the things that we try to focus on within our organization. Our tournament events, our conservation projects and initiatives, our youth programs, and our community involvement. And that's where the Children's Home Society of Summersville falls into, is community involvement. We're very pleased to be able to, this be our 5th annual Hook Line and Sinker Bass Fishing Tournament that we conduct for Children's Home Society of Summersville. Those are some great folks that work there. The critical mission they have is, I tell you, the things that they see and what they go through, we just hope we can help raise all kinds of money for them to further their mission. They do a very important and, as I say, critical mission. That's open to everybody, not just members. We like to say that we welcome all ethical anglers to our events, and we hope that those people do take advantage of fishing this tournament. It's Sunday, May 18th. The information for it is on our Facebook page, which is Bass Nation of West Virginia, and it's on our website also, wvbassnation.org. So those folks do a great job, and we're happy that we can do a small part to try to further their critical mission.
Absolutely. So talking about West Virginia, or Bass Nation of West Virginia, I should say, if someone wants to become a member, what's going to be the best way for them to do that?
Best way for them to do that, we have on our website, we have a link in our menu of the process to form or join a Bass Nation West Virginia club. We also have contacts on our menu that any ethical angler, again, that's what we want, is ethical anglers. Doesn't matter if you have a boat or no boat. We invite ethical anglers to join us. They can get in touch with one of our board members or one of our club presidents, and that contact information is on our website. Again, wvbassnation.org. They can contact a board member or a club president to see if there is an opening, and we can find you an opening. If someone wants to join us, we can find you an opening. You have to be a member of BASS, and then you join a club. When you join a club, you'll pay club dues, you'll pay national Bass Nation dues, and you're in. That makes you eligible to compete in all of our Team Trail Series tournaments, our regional state qualifying tournaments for the state championship, and then if you do well enough via your skill and or luck, in my case, then you would qualify for the state championship. It also gives you the opportunity to advance past the state level to regional and national competitions based on your skill in our tournaments.
All right.
So it's not a complicated process. Sometimes it can sound a little bit, but if you get in touch with especially one of our board members, we can put an angler in touch with a club that suits them, that fits their needs.
That's perfect.
One thing I like to touch on too is we're very, very proud that we have quite a few women members in our organization, and and female members that fish in our youth program, and we like that part of our society is fishing with us, and we welcome all.
Right, it's not just a club for the guys. The ladies are very welcome.
Oh no. In fact, we have a open tournament. It's our Western Open tournament that we're advertising as West Virginia's biggest affordable tournament. Our tournament director, Lyle Atkins, and our Western delegate, John Cooper, came up with this idea that instead of our normal open tournament entry fees at $100 or $125, this is $60 for this, a maximum of 60 boats, and we are giving, not only would we be paying back to 20% of the field, but for each team that has a female team member, we're giving a separate Big Fish award to that team.
Very good.
So we're as of right now, I think we have 10 ladies that are signed up to fish this tournament.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and that's our Western Open, and the information that again is on our Facebook page, and we're trying to make it affordable to everybody, let everyone see what we are and how we run our tournaments, and hope everyone has a good time at it. The date for that is July 12th this year, and it'll be on the Canal River. There'll be more information, but it'll be on the Canal River out of the the Frontier ramp, formerly the C&P ramp there in Canal City.
All right. Well, Hack, that's just about all the time I've got for today. I want to say thanks for coming on and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hey, thank you, Cam. You too, buddy. You take care.
A great conversation there with Ken Hackworth, a.k.a. Hack, the president of Bass Nation of West Virginia, and you can get all the details on that. When we come back, we're going to talk panfish because I am that guy. I'm that guy I'll throw a line out for cat or whatever, and then I'll have a second little line with a rod, and I will be playing with the bluegill over by the bank. I am that guy. Which, by the way, bluegill, they make for some very tasty fish fry. And up next, we're going to talk about it with Chef Mandy Gum from Carver Career Center about cooking with panfish. It's on the way next with Hook, Line, and Sinker on The Jock.
From the local 2U studio, connecting West Virginia, this is the Valley Sports Station, 105.5 and 98.3 FM, 1300 and 1340 AM. The Jock.
In the tapestry of life, we encounter stories of legacy and accomplishment, but sometimes also abuse, neglect, or financial exploitation. Adult Protective Services understands the importance of safeguarding the well-being of our loved ones, our neighbors, and our community. To report neglect or abuse, call 800-352-6513. Sponsored by the Administration for Community Living, West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources, Bureau for Social Services, the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this station. This project was supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $383,493, with 75% funded by ACL, HHS, and 25% in the amount of $85,236 funded by state government sources. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by, ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
Reels are streaming, lines are tight. We're back for Hook, Line, and Sinker on The Jock.
And we're back with Hook, Line, and Sinker. I am your host, Cam Connors. To close out the show today, we've been talking throughout the past few episodes a lot about trout, a lot about bass fishing, but I am also the kind of fisherman, kind of angler who really, I will fish for just about anything, and that it does not limit out bluegill. I will absolutely fish for bluegill. I will fish for red ear, sunfish. I'm just a guy that likes to catch fish. And so joining me on today's show, Chef Mandy Gum from Carver Career Center. We're going to talk a little bit about cooking some of those panfish. Chef Mandy, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Well, first off,
thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, thanks for taking the time to be on the show today. I know we've been trying for a couple weeks to get this worked out, and our schedule's kind of back and forth, and we finally got it worked out, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
So let's talk panfish and recipes and cooking, and because I know, my family, growing up, we would go fishing, and we would just catch, it seemed like this horde of bluegill, and we would have this massive fish fry. And to me, that's one of the favorite food memories of my childhood. So let's talk a little bit about what can be done with panfish.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I didn't really do all the fishing, but I did help in the kitchen with cooking it and frying it up. But you're right. I would say pan frying with some cornmeal and fish fry is probably the most popular. It's probably very Appalachian and instilled in our roots. Mm-hmm. But to give a little variety to it, I would even make a suggestion of maybe blackening it. A lot of people think blackening is the seasoning that goes on the fish. However, it's just actually a cooking method. So you can play around with the different flavor profiles of the seasonings that you put on the fish. And since it's really mild and tender, it can kind of take on really whatever you want. So blackening it, nice hot, screaming hot pan, and getting a good sear on it is really nice with it. And then another classic French technique, which a lot of people don't do or see anymore in restaurants even, is something called en papillote. So it's essentially you're steaming the fish in a little parchment pouch. Uh-huh. You might need to look up a video on how to do that, but it's a really light, delicate, and it flakes apart quite nice. So those would be my two suggestions.
Okay, and so, talking about the panfish, it's fish in general, especially freshwater fish, is going to be a more delicate meat texture. Trout can be very delicate, and panfish is going to be pretty delicate as well. Maybe a little firmer than trout. So you want to be very careful when handling it.
Yes, I would say my suggestion, stay away from tongs. tongs are going to pull them apart real quick, real easy, because like you said, they're delicate. If you can invest in a good fish spatula, they're quite longer than a normal spatula, and they're the length of the fillets, and it's really good to help you flip things over in the pan. It's a good go-to tool to have in the kitchen, especially with this type of fish.
So I know, like with chicken and steak and pork, that whenever you put it down into a hot pan, it's initially going to stick as it sears off on that side, and then it'll release, and that's when you can flip it. Does fish have that same principle?
It does have the same principle. Sometimes it seems like might not want to come up, but that might indicate if you didn't pat the fish dry, or maybe you didn't have the pan hot enough, or maybe not enough oil in the pan. But for the most part, you get a really good sear on what's called your presentation side, and flip it over, and it doesn't have to cook usually on that second side as long, because nice delicate fish like panfish is not really thick and meaty and have to take an extensive amount of time in the pan. So as long as you got good texture on the one side and give it a good flip, it takes some practice, maybe a little bit, and some gusto, but I believe all the listeners can do it.
I gotcha. And so, there's some people who will fillet a fish and they'll leave they'll scale and they'll leave a skin on. Would you say like a fry skin side down to initial on that?
Yes, absolutely. So if you were one that wants to have that texture there, you could even do a little bit of scoring. So you could do what's called hash marks on it, and do just slight scoring just through the skin. Don't go down into the meat, and you can give like a diamond pattern on it, which will help increase the surface area of crispiness as well. So you would put that skin side down first, and then flip it over. If you're choosing to skin the fish, obviously, which is not obviously a requirement of panfish, but you can certainly do that if you wanted to.
Gotcha. So good screaming hot pan, good spatula, plenty of oil, and let's talk about seasoning, because it is a lighter, more mild meat. So what kind of seasonings would you say are going to be paired best with panfish?
Sure. So I think you could go a couple different ways. So if we're in the spring and summer right now, where it's going to be important to focus on fresh herbs like dill or parsley or thyme, you can add a little heat in there too, obviously with a touch of cayenne or maybe some smoked paprika. But sticking with the light, fresh brightness will help complement the delicateness of the fish. But you can also certainly put in some more robust stuff in there too. Some garlic if you wanted, maybe some lemon zest as well, just to help brighten it up and make it all kind of come together.
Gotcha. What about like a good all-around Cajun blend?
Yeah, certainly. So there's so many different things on the market out there, but you can certainly go a little Cajun with, like I said, like the cayenne, the garlic powder, onion powder, do a little bit of salt and pepper in there, some smoked paprika, some dried herbs is pretty good in your Cajun rubs. You don't really want to do fresh. Fresh is usually for the end of cooking or something that cooks for a short window of time. But don't go too crazy into the dried herbs that are really, really strong. So I would avoid things like rosemary. It's super strong. This is a mild, delicate fish. I would steer away from something like that. Okay.
And of course, Old Bay can be a fantastic seasoning as well.
Yes, Old Bay is used quite a bit. I would even use it in conjunction a little with the Cajun seasoning. And then at the end, after you take the fish out of the pan, maybe just to help give some brightness to it, finish with some fresh herbs and a squeeze of lemon, just to help brighten it back up a little bit.
Perfect. So what about sides? The fish is obviously going to be your main entree. What is going to pair well for a side dish with a good panfish?
Sure. So classic, simple Southern items, you could think of like grits, pretty popular, or even hush puppies, pretty satisfying and timeless. However, I would even think of something lighter and fresher, again, because it's a mild fish. You could do maybe a vinegar-based slaw and throw in some extra elements in there to help brighten it up a bit. Things like honey in there, some vinegar, maybe even some shredded up apples to help brighten it up to pair with it. But you could also then pull things out of the pantry or things that you've done at home as well. You can go back to almost your food preservations and think of canned stuff. I would even pull out some pickled vegetables, maybe some cornbread or braised greens. You can kind of go a little different routes. Mediterranean dishes are pretty popular with this type of fish. So you could go really light and maybe do a couscous salad even with some cucumber in there and stuff like that. But it's really up to each viewer.
Gotcha.
listener.
And what about drink pairing? Being a rural area as we are, I would like to talk about a wine pairing because there are some folks who like wine, but I would also like to, if you have any beer suggestions that's going to pair with that.
Okay. So for wine, a good general rule of thumb usually is fish goes with white wine. So if you have something that's really greasy, or like a fried fish, if we were coating it in cornbread or cornmeal, I would focus on something that's really light and citrusy. Maybe it's a little drier, so it helps cut the richness of the fatness. When it comes to beer, honestly, you can go a couple different ways on that route too. So I would think more like a Pilsner or maybe a wheat beer for when it's fried. But if we're sticking
It's
to the
time to
light
get back to the
delicateness, like
Countdown
a grilled
2
or a
on the
blackened, I
BetMGM
would think of
Network.
something
Here's
citrusy,
Greg
like an
Paulson
IPA
and Alex
something like
Gold.
that to help pair with the charred, burnt crispiness of the fish.
Right, and IPA is exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, Mandy, I got to say, it's been a great talk about panfish and the best ways we're going to prepare it. I appreciate you taking the time to call, and I'm sure we will touch base again soon about some other fish and preparation methods that we can talk